She used to be the embodiment of hope, a courageous adolescent on television who inspired many and dismantled barriers. However, what transpired when I Am Jazz ceased? Regarding the response, you are incorrect. Once upon a time, Jazz Jennings was a vibrant, hopeful person. She's currently dealing with issues that nobody anticipated. Her smile has dimmed. Her spirit is diminished. Furthermore, her life is very different from the one she battled so hard to get. From accidents to crushing pressure, everything has changed. It's more than just a decline in popularity. This aspect of her life wasn't wanted to be seen. No one is aware of Jazz Jennings' issues. Jazz Jennings is known for his early transformation. She received accolades from doctors, was featured in the news, and asked to speak at gatherings. People were impressed by her courage and self-assurance. Hidden beneath the public image, however, was a person struggling with unexpected emotional scars and operations. When Jazz underwent surgery to confirm her gender in 2018, it was a significant milestone. This procedure was a significant milestone in her life as a transgender person. This surgery was a huge step forward for many transgender people, and Jazz had long been looking forward to it. Supporters believed it was a worthy triumph. However, issues arose immediately following the procedure. Jazz started using medicines to prevent puberty at an early age in order to facilitate her transition and prevent the emergence of undesirable masculine features. Her body didn't produce enough penile tissue to create a vaginal hole for the gender confirmation procedure, which was a drawback. Her doctors were forced to devise a new strategy as a result. They decided to remove skin from her tummy to aid in the procedure. It was a difficult decision that required careful consideration and included hazards. Regretfully, the procedure was not the original plan. Soon after the surgery, Jazz experienced significant issues like edema, persistent pain, and healing difficulties. She had assumed that the operation would mark the conclusion of her journey, but it was actually the start of something far more serious. Jazz underwent multiple surgeries. Every time, medical professionals attempted to address issues that had arisen after previous operations. But there was a catch. Every surgery made her physical and mental health worse. She was worn out and anxious from the physical recovery, as much as from having to cope with the public's attention. She was widely seen on television. On her show, I Am Jazz, she was consistently portrayed as joyful, self-assured, and vibrant. However, people's perceptions of her have changed. Jazz was candid in private talks and appearances. She reported feeling as though she had undergone an internal transformation. She no longer felt like herself. She experienced numbness and occasionally emptiness. A fact that many people had not before recognized was revealed by these occurrences. Jazz's narrative started off as one of pride and hope, but it soon became a warning. It serves as a reminder that medical decisions, even those made with the greatest of intentions, can have unanticipated consequences. Although the purpose of her voyage was to inspire me, it also caused me to consider some significant issues. People questioned whether the doctors could have done more to prevent complications if she was too young for such major surgery, and whether there were adequate long-term research on the outcomes. Jazz's appearance gradually started to reflect the impact of her experiences. She was no longer merely viewed as a resilient and evolving individual. She was now perceived as someone who was attempting to recover and comprehend her experiences. Her appearance changed, and her emotions were severely tested. As she attempted to reconstruct her life, the world that had once supported her now silently observed her. She was recovering from the stress of having many people want her to perform well, in addition to the procedures. Her situation became even more difficult due to the constant cameras and interviews. Being a role model caused Jazz a great deal of suffering and strain, which was excessive for a young person. Her tale continues to have an impact. This is because things didn't go as planned, not because they did. It demonstrates how difficult and highly personal altering one's gender can be. Every journey is unique, and even when everything goes smoothly, there could be internal conflicts at play. Ultimately, Jazz remains present. She is still making an attempt and trying to recover. Perhaps this is why her story is so significant. The strength to continue when things go wrong and the focus shifts is more important than the recognition or attention. Growing up, Jazz Jennings was constantly on television. People throughout the world have admired her journey since she was very little. She was self-assured, vibrant, and consistently joyful. People were in awe of her might. She accepted everything and was forthright about who she was. Behind her celebrity, however, things were not going well. When these issues did arise, it wasn't shocking. They arrived gradually at first, then all at once. Jazz withdrew from public life after undergoing surgery to change her gender. She became less active on social media and made fewer public appearances. Although fans noticed these shifts, they initially didn't comprehend what was happening. Jazz did return, but her appearance had changed. Her voice was quieter, her physique bigger, and her face softer. She also spoke differently, and there was a sadness in her eyes that had not been there before. Jazz claimed to have gained over 100 pounds. Over time, everything grew worse, but it all began when she was still recovering from surgery. It was more than merely improving one's physical condition. She was also experiencing internal issues. Jazz began overindulging, consuming many pizzas and donut boxes simultaneously. She was not hungry, but she ate a lot of food at once. To cope with her emotional anguish, she took this action. She turned to food to help her forget her problems. She did it as a way to feel better. But the more she ate, the worse she felt. Her body and mind started to shift, and as a result, she began to experience anxiety and depression. She found it more difficult to perform daily tasks. Even simple things like going to therapy or brushing her teeth were too much for her to manage. There were days when it felt hard to get out of bed. Her mother, Jeanette, did everything in her power to support her, and her family was always there for her. Even while her mother supported her, there were moments when it wasn't enough. In an extremely poignant scene, people watched as Jeanette pleaded with Jazz to defend her rights. Jeanette's voice broke because she was so desperate for her daughter to return to her. Jazz was in so much pain that she was sitting still and didn't seem to want to talk or do anything. Jazz used to be confident as a child, but this was quite different from that. Many people had never seen this side of Jazz before, yet the scenes were authentic. Once adored by many, she was now overwhelmed by the expectations of celebrity. She had lost her peace of mind, but fame had given her a voice. Despite being a hero to others, she had yet to discover who she was. The expectation that people would constantly appear strong had grown too high. A significant moment followed when Jazz was accepted to Harvard University, a significant accomplishment that many aspire to. Jazz decided to postpone it since she wanted time to recover, despite everyone's expectation that she would begin immediately. This move stunned a lot of people. Jazz was always supposed to be unbeatable. No matter what, she was determined to keep moving forward. But now she was acknowledging that she was not feeling good. This shattered a powerful misconception. Her life had some issues, and her transformation did not solve them all. Despite all the attention and accolades, the young woman behind the exhibition was only looking for serenity. The beginning of Jazz's narrative was one of courage and optimism. But after a while, it evolved into something more profound. It evolved into a narrative about the challenges of maturing in public. It examined what occurs when someone is viewed as a role model before they have a complete understanding of who they are. It demonstrated how difficult it is to maintain strength over time. Jazz took a step back, which was a pretty daring move. She prioritized her health over appearances. She decided to concentrate on getting healthier rather than pretending that everything was all right. Jazz made no effort to conceal her issues. She told them directly. Her actions taught us a powerful lesson. It's acceptable to not be perfect. Her life story is no longer solely about setting an example or serving as a leader. Now, it's about the sense of humanity that all people experience. It examines the internal struggle for happiness and the belief that, despite adversity, there's always a way to move forward. Even though it's difficult, Jazz continues in this path, demonstrating her perseverance. The thick silence that follows a grin. With time, Jazz Jennings began to evolve. She didn't look as bright and energetic as she once did. Her once bright smile from TV, advertisements, and stage appearances suddenly appeared softer and more worn out. These changes became apparent to those who had been following her narrative from start. After a while, a question emerged. Was it all too much for her to cope with so young? Jazz has always been admired for its incredible journey. Many individuals believe that she inspired them, altered the world, and told an incredible story. When she was a little child, she rose to prominence as a cause icon. People in the same area researched her biography, wrote about her in textbooks, and discussed her on television, and her name became associated with advancement. Her work in schools and seminars has significantly altered people's perceptions on how children should identify their gender. Everyone was applauding and cheering, but in the background, another narrative was being told. Jazz developed both cognitively and physically as she grew older. The strain from society to always appear content, resilient, and to match a specific stereotype became too much for her to bear. She was a genuine person with emotions, uncertainties, and concerns. She wasn't only a leader or a symbol. As she revealed more about her story, people began to realize that it was more than a happy ending. She also experienced confusion and emotional overload during her journey. Some individuals who had previously supported early transitioning started to have second thoughts. They wanted to know if children as young as 2, 5, or 11 could truly comprehend the whole impact of transitioning, including the social and mental ones. There was an unavoidable difficult dilemma when a courageous article appeared online in 2023. The Tragedy of Jazz Jennings was the title. It wasn't sugar-coated. It indicated that Jazz was viewed more as a problem than a child by the adults in her life, including her parents, physicians, and the media. Before making important decisions for Jazz and the novel, people were asked if they had considered her feelings. The girl in the narrative could have wanted someone to question her decisions, even if she was constantly assured that she was acting morally. She didn't have time to pause since the various aspects of her life, such as healthcare, community, and culture, moved so swiftly. She was not given the opportunity to express uncertainty about her feelings or to pose difficult questions. During one of her TV show's episodes, Jazz discussed a delicate subject. She appeared serious and remained motionless. Jazz claimed that she was not and would never be sexually attracted to anyone. It was a powerful moment that will never be forgotten. It was so genuine that neither music nor editing could detract from it. It was genuine and caused a lot of thought. That one instance revealed an aspect of Jazz that many people were unaware of. That individual wasn't your usual joyful child or self-assured public speaker. Rather, she appeared to be a young lady with internal issues and weakness. The woman appeared uncertain about her physical and mental well-being as well as what would happen next. Finding her identity was no longer the only goal. She also needed to be at peace with herself. Was she truly pleased with the way her physique looked? Was she truly content? Otherwise, what was causing her such distress? Soon, additional voices could be heard as more people started to pay attention. Stories were told by those who had changed at an early age. While some expressed regret, others were perplexed. Moving slowly so that things may develop organically was more important than trying to. Hide who you are. Jazz's narrative became to represent a larger issue, a system that prioritizes reinforcement over listening. Not all children are aware of their desires at an early age. Many people are still discovering their identities and feelings. The people the system is meant to assist may suffer if it doesn't permit questions or doubts. For Jazz, the cost may have been her mental health. She was admired, lauded, and acknowledged by everyone on the planet. She might not have been able to process her emotions at her own time in exchange. Although life isn't flawless, the world is looking for stories that are. Life is chaotic, perplexing, and ever-changing. As Jazz matures and expresses her opinions, perhaps she will be content to be more than just a sign. If she remains on her path and doesn't care about what other people want her to do, we hope she will be happy. Jazz shouldn't feel pressured to be someone else. She ought to go one step at a time instead. The stillness suffers when the lights go off. Jazz Jennings was once a bright, well-known individual. She wasn't just any chick, you know. She was a symbol of optimism, change, and innovation. She was discussed in meetings, classrooms, and the media. When she appeared on television, in magazines, and at events, she frequently smiled. She exuded confidence, charisma, and vitality. She was seen by many as a symbol of possibility, particularly by LGBTQ+ individuals. Since she was very little, Jazz has been in numerous films and television programs. She wrote books, delivered lectures, and appeared on a TV show. She was adored by people everywhere. She was popular because she was powerful, intelligent, kind, and easy to get along with. Many individuals were impressed by her bravery. She was well known for being the young transgender girl who taught everyone to accept others. She was viewed as evidence that happiness and fulfillment may be achieved through change. Jazz's behavior clearly changed as she grew larger. She still smiled, but there was something strange about it. She struggled to maintain her strength. She had obviously been under a lot of stress for years. The once joyful and energetic teen began to distance himself from others. She appeared quieter, more worn out, and less confident. Her previously lauded voyage began to reveal its shortcomings. When Jazz was in her early 20s, she started to feel as though her weight was weighing her down. It became obvious that she was struggling. She admitted to eating too much and was open about her grief. She discussed her emotional distress following her procedures. Although she no longer looked that way, people still believed she was flawless. She was a young woman attempting to navigate a world that held great expectations for her. Many people had a hard time believing that Jazz's circumstances had altered. What to do was up to the activists who had previously supported her. Some decided to continue supporting her, claiming that society's continued lack of acceptance was the root of her issues rather than her fault. They felt that Jazz's issues demonstrated the need for increased support for transgender people. They viewed Jazz as a hero despite her difficult circumstances. However, not everyone was prepared for the new Jazz music. Some of the groups who had previously been pleased by her tale started to distance themselves. She no longer had the ideal story to tell about her experiences. Her story became more complex as a result of her struggles, transformations, and inner conflicts.